Hey there, friends. It is your friend in flowers, Lisa Mason Ziegler, just dropping in here tonight for us to do a little chit-chatting about why you should not miss the boat on cool flowers. So I think I should start off by saying not everybody knows what cool flowers are. I kind of assume that. The book's 10 years old. We have sold a gazillion of them, but there are still lots of people out there, right? So Cool Flowers is the name of a book that I wrote 10 years ago about a family of flowers, and they're called Cool Season Hardy Annuals. And it is really about how the technique of actually growing those, right? And what I want to talk about tonight is the why and how Cool Season Hardy Annuals can truly change a flower farming business. Now, it is just as beneficial to a home gardener, particularly if you're a person that has a spring tour, perhaps a garden tour of your home. This is the family of flowers that you want to focus on. But as flower farmers, let's just talk about why in the world should you grow cool flowers. So Cool Season Hardy Annuals don't just survive cool weather, y'all. That's where they thrive. The cool to cold weather is their sauce, right? I think we tend to hear the word annual and we think about the warm season most commonly known group of annuals, coxcomb and zinnias and basil and tomatoes and those kinds. Y'all, these are the same group, I guess, because they're both annuals, but these are cool season hardy annuals, and they love cool to cold weather. And who are these? These are some of the most coveted flowers to grow. Poppies, bells of Ireland, sweet peas, snapdragons, larkspur, bupleurum. I could go on and on and on and on and on. Some of the most luscious, delicious spring bloomers. This is their family. And I will say that most growers struggle growing them, or they just think they can't grow them because they've planted them at the wrong time, as I did too, right? We just didn't know any better. And here's the thing about this family of why I've just made it kind of my stand on my soapbox about this group is when these plants get planted at the right time for where you are for your conditions, they are some of the most abundant producers. The stems are sometimes twice as tall. There's more of them. They tend to bloom earlier. They tend to bloom later, friends, because they're so well established they can face heat and humidity like nobody's tomorrow. And in addition to that, they're more disease and pest resistant. I mean, this is their quality of the stems when they get planted at the proper time is unsurpassable by others. Because think about it. They are well established when cool weather comes. Pest pressure is naturally lower. It usually, hopefully, rains more often in spring. I mean, all the cards are stacked for you and those plants. So I tend to find that most growers kind of tread water in the gray area with this family, and it's just because of their awkward planting time. It's hard to figure out by yourself, and we just don't know what we're missing. Because let's just stop and think about that for just a minute. Most of the cool flowers, not all of them, there's a few that do bloom in summer, like lisianthus and straw flowers bloom a little bit later. But most of the cool season hardy annuals actually bloom in spring. That is the highest demand in the cut flower industry. That is the easiest time to sell flowers. I mean, you really don't even have to try very hard, which I am living proof of that. I actually launched my flower farming business back in 1998 with a fall planted garden. I just read in a book that I was ready to start my farm. It was August, and I'm like, what the heck do I plant now? I learned that snapdragons, sweet William, and sweet peas, and rudbeckia, black Indian summer, that the four of those were called cool season hardy annuals. I mean, I had no idea what that meant, but it said I could plant them in the fall, and I planted them. And I walked into that very first flower shop as a know-nothing. I mean, I had a 4-door sedan. I strapped the buckets into the back seat, y'all. Drove down there, and they took everything. because I walked into their shop in spring when it's the busiest season of the year. This is like a no-brainer, y'all. And that's what I think people just don't understand yet. And so that's what I'm telling you all about. So, I was really forced to kind of figure this out back in the day because I have never had a greenhouse. I don't have any hoop houses. So everything I talk about and teach about and share about is all happening outside in a garden, which means the highest profit margin because you aren't using house space. And anyway, friends, I'm going to try not to go down too many rabbit holes. So growing this group of flowers, which I also find to be the easiest keepers when you figure this out, when to plant them and give them the conditions they want. They're easy keepers. I mean, it rains and snows and ices more often during the winter than it does snow during the summer. I'm not snow, obviously not snow, but more rain than we get typically here in the spring and summer. They are just a low maintenance group of flowers once you figure this out. And I find that sometimes the simpler the success, the more we just don't believe it. I mean, that's how organic gardening is, right? It is so simple. Most people just can't believe that's true. I find that to be very, very true in cool flowers. People are like, oh, I could never plant anything in the fall. Well, if you look at the facts, you might be surprised. And if you can't, let's just say you have super heavy snow load and you're in zone 3 or 4, you probably can't fall plant anything. But guess what? The very early spring planting window is where it is going to you are going to get stuff in the ground so much earlier than a warm season tender annual. It's just going to launch your business. Earlier cash flow, earlier just to get to market, to serve your florist, to be at the farmer's market, to fund what you need to build your flower farm, seed supplies, tools, plants, whatever. To have cash so much earlier, it just changes everything. And I mean, I've heard from people that cool flowers changed their business life. And that brings me to another thing that we're now seeing happening. It's a trend that is starting. There are flower farmers that are actually building their flower farming business model around spring and early summer crops. That's the highest demand. That's the only time they're selling. The rest of the year is actually you do things, but you're not selling, you're not harvesting and it just depends on where you are. I'm just planting seeds here, y'all. Cool flowers is a phenomenal opportunity. So let's talk about some of the resources that are available to you to figure this out. Now, my book, Cool Flowers, which is right above my head right here, I wrote that book 10 years ago, and that is the basic bare bones concept of cool flowers. I think everybody should have the Cool Flower book. I mean, it's like a $22 book, $23 book. You could read it in a weekend, and it gives you the jumping off point. That was written for home gardeners, but it's definitely applicable to flower farmers. You can apply that, but that's where it all starts. Then my other book that just came out this year, the Cut Flower Handbook, also has cool season hardy annuals in it. It actually has 41 different cool season hardy annuals. And that book goes wider and has warm season tender annuals and really helps you to wrap your head around succession planting and the things that you have to kind of employ to be able to really, really do that, right? And then what we've added this year is we have a new course that has come out in recent months called Cool Flowers from Seed to Harvest. And friends, I just have to tell you, this is an amazing piece of resource that if you are a flower farmer, you cannot go wrong from having this in your back pocket. So this course was co-created between myself and Lane Angelo, who is my co-host on Seed Talk. Lane is the seed manager at the Gardener's Workshop, and she's the one that gets fed all the questions that come in. And she really wanted to create a cool flower course that applied to all those questions that we just hear over and over and over again. And this is an amazing course. So let me just tell you a little bit about the course. The course covers, it has 6 classes, and those classes are, I actually have a list. sorry. The basics is the first class, and that's just the basics of cool flowers. You know, it helps you with planting and succession planting, and it kind of keeps you in your cool flower lane, figuring out what you need to do. That's the first class. The second class is on seed starting. That talks about soil blocks and starting in plug trays and seed sowing tips and hardening off and what size should transplants be when they go to the field, a direct sowing demonstration. And then the next class is on growing and harvesting. And so that includes like some bed prep stuff, the basics of row cover, to pinch or not to pinch transplants. That's the $1 million question, right? Flower support netting, fertilizing, harvesting tips, where to make the cut, as well as I do a session on coolers and talk a little bit about that and how significant they can be to cool flowers. Then there's a class on nothing but frequently asked questions and troubleshooting. And that class is broken into 3 sessions. There is a seed starting troubleshooting, there is a timing and growing troubleshooting, and a harvesting and conditioning troubleshooting. And friends, the best is left for last. And that is the 5th class is on 11 of the cool flowers that we recommend and that I actually direct sow. We have grouped the cool flowers by direct sowing and by transplant, right? That just makes it so much easier, right? And so those 11 plants, and that there's 11 sessions. Each one of those includes seed starting information, in the field, demonstrations, harvesting, what stage to actually cut them, where to make the cut. We have covered just those things that people struggle with. And so that's class 5. Class 6 is the transplanted featured flowers, and there's 25 of them. And you know, it's seed starting. It shows you seed sowing for each one of them, whether that's indoors in a soil block or out in the field, how to sow seeds. And friends, the class is actually packed. It just covers all the bits and pieces, and something, you know, there's so much that I could say about this. One of the things that we absolutely love about our online courses is our course has an app. And that means you can have it on your phone. That means you can have your phone in your back pocket and pull it out anytime and go right to the flower that you don't remember the spacing, you don't remember whether it gets covered with soil or not when you're sowing the seeds. It just really makes all that possible. But let me just tell you what the special offer is all about, because the offer ends tonight at midnight. Today is July 31st if you happen to be watching the rerun. I have created a bonus training that when you purchase the Cool Flower from Seed to Harvest course by midnight tonight, July 31st, you are also going to receive in a following email access to my Mastering Cool Flowers expert techniques and tips. And friends, this is my dive into the advanced maintenance techniques for cool flower beds, for pathways, for weed prevention, for mulching. I'm looking at my notes because I don't want to forget anything. You know, probably one of the biggest surprises I had when I started growing cool flowers 27 or 28 years ago was how many weeds grow in the winter. Who knew? I mean, henbit and chickweed could just really take my farm over. And so I tell you what my strategies are for all of that, right? And then there is a session or 2 on demonstrating and instructing on how to build a lightweight row cover tunnel. And I show, friends, I prefer to build tunnels by myself. Even though my beds are 100 feet long in some areas, I show you how I build them by myself, to install a row cover even in wind, and then also even how to install a second layer and when you might need that, and how to do it. But then I also demonstrate how to install what I call a sun cap. That is an insect netting cap that I put on the wire hoops to actually cool my cool flower beds down. Insect netting, it's very similar to using row cover. However, row cover actually traps more heat, more can pass through insect netting. And I give you a demonstration of how I do that. And then, friends, the last session in the bonus training, and y'all have to give me a little grace on this, I have actually hand-drawn the plan of a big group of my 30 beds and how you incorporate cool season and warm season together. It's not individual plants. It is how the ebb and flow through spring, through summer, through fall, and through winter, how you live with those beds. And I talk you through that. And I just feel like people make it so complicated that we just can't figure out. Succession planning is so simple, and it is the secret to success in flower farming. And you just have to back away to the 30,000 foot view and drop those details that are totally confusing you. And that's what I achieved. So this bonus training, Mastering Cool Flowers, is only going to be available with courses that are purchased by midnight tonight for the Cool Flower course. I feel like this course brings all the pieces together. The book, the Cool Flower course, all those strings that are hanging down. It's going to help you just tie them up and how you live with them. And that's really what Mastering Cool Flowers started with when we started brainstorming about how to really, we get so many questions about how to take care of the cool flower garden, because cool to cold weather gardening is very different than warm to hot gardening. And so I just did a session over on YouTube, and so I'm having to think to myself, did I say it here or not? So I'm sorry I've already said this here, but I don't think that I have. One of the really kind of surprising things to me, besides the weeds that grow during winter, is I discovered how I had drainage problems on areas of my farm that I didn't really realize it until I started winter gardening, right? Because when in the warm weather, when you are gardening in spring and summer and into fall, your plants are actively growing. The vegetative part of the plants are growing. They're absorbing water. They're actively growing. It's hot outside. That's drying out the soil, right? And all of that helps your soil potentially mask drainage issues. Well, they quickly become apparent once you start farming and gardening in cool to cold weather. Because once it rains once here for me in fall, my soil never drains out all winter and dries out all winter. It stays wet because the temperatures are cold. It rains or snows or ices more frequently. And once that starts happening, you're done, right? So you just really, there's just a lot of those little ebb and flow things that are key pieces. And that's what I talk about in Mastering Cool Flowers. I absolutely loved making that little bonus training to go along with this special launch of the Cool Flower course. So that will only be available through midnight, July 31st. I keep saying this because people are going to watch the reruns and the replays and really want to get in on that. So friends, I'm just saying, this is for real. It is not going to be available after tonight. So, I do see that there's been some questions posted. Oh, here's a good question. How do you deal with slugs? So that's a really great question, because that's a common one that I get, because, we use so much leaf litter in our pathways for fall planted gardens or fall built gardens. And we, in fact, really do not have a slug problem, y'all. When you start really just kind of restoring the natural order of your farm, meaning walking away from pesticides, even organic, and just really allowing, there is far more good things that live in leaf litter than there are bad things. And so I will be really honest and say, we definitely use the Slug X, which is this plastic trap that you can pour Pabst Blue Ribbon beer or any kind of beer in. We've learned slugs definitely prefer Pabst Blue Ribbon because it's yeastier. That's what draws slugs to beer, right? And that's one way you could help your population decline. But we just really do not even find that is an issue. So, friends, I am just here to say that the cool flower from seed to harvest, you can actually request a sneak peek. If you want to see inside the course, you can go to the sales page. You can just comment cool here, COOL, and that will automatically DM you the link to my webpage. On that webpage, you just scroll to the bottom and you can request the sneak peek, which is actually the Rudbeckia session, which is so beautiful. We grow so many Rudbeckias, y'all, and they're actually winter hardy to zone 5. So that means people that live in winter hardiness zone 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 all fall plant them. And when you fall plant all these different hardy annual Rudbeckias, we often have Rudbeckia blooming for Mother's Day. I just can't tell you how you're going to ramp up your volume and your options. I mean, for us, the very first things to bloom on my farm, and again, I have no hooper greenhouses. Everything grows outside in the field, and all of our teachings are based on that. And Lane, of course, gardens. She is a home gardener. She has about an acre garden in Williamsburg, Virginia, and she is the co-creator of this course. And she also lives in deer country, y'all. She has herds of deer. So we just really give the examples and the suggestions based on what most people are dealing with, growing outdoors, right? But if you comment cool here, that'll DM you the link to my website, which is thegardenersworkshop.com. At the top of every page, there's a yellow banner, and you can click that to go straight to that page if you don't have access to your DMs for whatever reason. And if you purchase the course by midnight tonight, the course is $349. And, if y'all have been following me for more than a minute, first off, I am painfully honest. $349 is a lot of money. But that is a BB in the Astrodome compared to the potential income that you're going to make from that. We do offer a 2-payment plan. It doesn't matter whether you do the 1 pay or the 2 pay. You still get the bonus Mastering Cool Flowers. My expert techniques and tips of living with a cool flower garden. So I'm just looking at my notes, y'all. I just feel like this is it's just a great opportunity, especially, we're in July, y'all. And I also want to say this. So let's just say you live in winter hardiness zone 4 or 5 in the USDA winter hardiness zone, and you're thinking, well, I can't fall plant. I'm just going to wait till later. Well, friends, let me let you in on a little secret. It doesn't matter whether you're fall planting or not. We all prepare the beds in fall because very early spring is pretty much in the dead of winter, and there's no way your soil is going to be frozen, cold, wet, covered in snow or ice when it's time to start planting in very early spring. So these are the kind of things that you just need to learn more about this family of flowers, of cool season hardy annuals. And so I'm looking at some questions that have been submitted to us in the last week, and I was just gonna. So here's a question that we get: will this concept in the course even work in my region or zone? That means, for this is international, we include the information based on both USDA winter hardiness zones and temperatures, and everybody pretty much can plant cool flowers. It's that we all plant them on different timing. And friends, that's the problem. That's why we can't just figure it out. We guide you to find when you plant for your actual conditions. And and it's different for everybody. And I will say this, as temperatures changing constantly, right? The weather is just not reliable anymore. Every year I'm tweaking my timing. I plant in the fall and very early spring. I'm in zone 8, in the USD zone. My winter low is 10 degrees. And I can pretty much almost plant all the cool flowers in the fall. That means I can actually potentially plant them all again in very early spring, that's another succession. There's just so many options, y'all. So many options to ramp up your opportunity to create abundance of bounty. And, so everybody plants cool flowers pretty much. And so this is a question, is how is this course different from the information in Lisa's book? And, again, that book was written 10 years ago. We've identified additional flowers, as well as the thing about, I don't know about you, but seeing videos in action, where to make the cut on the plants, what is the flower really supposed to look like when I'm supposed to cut it, is a lot different than looking at a picture. I mean, a book is amazing. I mean, it's a huge reference tool. But watching videos are like aha light bulb moments. So there is more in-depth information than what is in the book. But I definitely recommend, the book is a great jumping off point for folks. What's the course actually like? Will I enjoy learning the online format? We want you to test drive it for yourself because, friends, we offer a 7-day money-back, no questions asked guarantee on all of our online courses. If you email us within 7 days of purchasing it and saying, you know what, this isn't just what I thought it was, we'll give you your money back. And friends, we know you're going to love it. So you have really no risk in taking it. And you can also, again, go over to the sales page, which if you comment cool here, that'll DM you the link directly to that page. You can request one of the sessions and have a little look. And there is a payment plan. The course is $349, and you can do a one pay of $349, or you can do a two pay of $180. And you get my bonus training, Mastering Cool Flowers, Expert Tips and Techniques, with both of those, right? And so the only real question that remains is, are you ready to learn about a new group of flowers that I will say for me has become the easiest to care for, the easiest to be successful with, and the most abundant and the easiest to sell, literally. When you have a truckload of flowers to take out to your florist in spring, it is just a no-brainer, y'all. That is the highest demand of cut flowers. And I again apologize if I told this story earlier, but I launched my farm in 1998 on this group of flowers, and I didn't know it then, but walking in to that flower shop during spring with sweet peas, Indian summer rudbeckia, sweet William, and I had some hydrangeas on the side that were some of our home hydrangeas. And it was the easiest sales ever. He was so excited. He became one of my lifelong customers because it was such a great experience. Versus, I'll tell you what happens, versus walking into a flower shop or being at the farmer's market in July. It's hot as blue blitzing. At the florist shop, there really aren't many weddings usually. There aren't any really events. They're just doing day-to-day flower stuff, which is funerals, I'm sorry, I did something wrong flowers. If you walk in with your high cotton at that time of the year, just doesn't usually go very well. Walking in spring with this gorgeousness that much of it you can't really even get shipped in, friends, it just sets you up for success. Early cash flow, early success, early relationships with customers builds a community for a successful business and really sets you up for the season. So you can comment cool here. I'll DM you the link to go straight to the sales page. Cool Flowers from Seed to Harvest. It is a course that I feel totally confident saying you're just not going to believe how you've grown without growing cool flowers. And you have all the resources at your fingertips now. The Cool Flower book, the Cool Flower course, and if you buy the course by midnight, you'll get my bonus video training of Cool Flowers, Mastering Cool Flowers, Expert Tips and Techniques. So, friends, I hope this has helped you. I'm just blabbing it from the rooftops because I will tell you we'll be stormed with emails and reaching out tomorrow, the rest of the week probably, of people seeing this and they're going to say, oh my gosh, I didn't know. Can I get in late? And the special offer ends tonight at midnight. So please share this. Tell your friends if you think there's somebody. And it's over in Facebook and it's also in YouTube. And just share it around. I appreciate your support. And again, friends, we give that money back guaranteed because we know you're going to love the class. And it is going to just get your mind rolling on how to prepare and plant this fall, or either just prepare and get ready for very early spring for the greatest flower farming season you're ever going to have next year. And it's all going to be because of cool flowers. I feel totally confident saying that to y'all. I'm not quite so bold about that, but I can totally claim it because I've lived it. Our cash crop in spring was usually triple what the rest of the season was. And it was just so easy. It was just so easy. So, friends, hope to see you learning over in the Cool Flower Seed to Harvest and get in before the offer ends at midnight tonight. And thank you all for showing up here tonight. And now I'm going to go have some dinner. All right, friends. Ciao.